Hey everybody, today we are getting shady. No, not that kind. I'm talking about, of course, sunshades for your pergola or any kind of outdoor structure. It's 7:30 p.m. and you just finished enjoying a nice meal outside. And then suddenly, the setting sun finds just the right angle to blast your retinas clean off. And after that happens, it's probably time to install a sunshade onto your pergola. But as with anything, not all sunshades are created equal. So here are 5 things to consider when shopping for a sunshade. So first, let's think about what kind of sunshade or screen is going to be right for you. The common ones out there are going to be bug screens, sunshades, or privacy screens. Now, bug screens are great at doing exactly what the name suggests. Now, do you like mosquitoes? Probably not. I don't think I've ever met a person who really likes mosquitoes. With a bug screen, you can keep those little bastards out while still getting enough airflow in your outdoor space. Now, a sunshade is very similar to a bug screen in that it'll keep bugs out. The main difference is going to be fabric density. With a sunshade, it'll cut down on the amount of light coming in, as well as the mosquitoes. So it blocks UV rays to keep the harsh setting sun off of you and out of your eyes. Do you like getting sunburnt? Just like mosquitoes, don't know anybody who likes that either. And if you do like sunburns and mosquitoes, please identify yourself in the comments because I have a lot of questions. Lastly, we have the privacy shade. And as the name implies, it is exactly what you would expect. So imagine this, you order pizza for dinner and you don't want your mooch of a neighbor Dave or his wonderful children to stop by for another unannounced dinner visit. I mean, you only have so much pizza, right? Drop the privacy shade, your problem solved. Now, the big downside of a privacy shade is going to be the lack of airflow. So with a privacy shade, the fabric is so dense that it's hard for air or wind to get through. It could get a little too warm in that area. And if you have high winds, since the fabric is so dense, it becomes less of a shade and more of a sail and starts to billow and push in. The next thing to consider is retractability. And no, I'm not sure if retractability is a word, and I did not take the time to Google it. With retractability, we're talking about how the screen retracts or disappears or just gets out of your way when you're not using it. Now there's zippers, curtains, tie-ons, and a whole bunch of different kinds of track systems. Now, curtain style shades can provide a really nice, elegant style look to your pergola. Just like any other kind of curtain, they pull back and then tie off on the posts when not in use. Now the curtains are gonna look great, but they are out in the elements, so they're not gonna look super bright and clean forever. They can also be a little bit cumbersome and can make your space feel a little bit cramped. So curtains are really only recommended for spaces or situations where there isn't really a lot of wind. It can be really annoying when the wind is blowing and those curtains are flapping around and hitting you in the face when you're trying to enjoy some nice time under your pergola. The next option is gonna be a zipper. And you can find these on Amazon or really any kind of big box store. They're very similar to curtains, except they zip up right in the middle. Now, I generally recommend against these. Not because there's anything wrong with the screen itself, but that zipper can really break down in the sun and wind over any period of time. And some say you'd be better off taping a tarp to the side of your pergola. Now, a more budget-friendly option would be the tie-on style of shade. They tie on to your beams and posts with elastic bands, very similar to outdoor projector screens, which is definitely not the most elegant look. Now, as you may have already figured out, these are not exactly retractable. They have very low retractability. To take these down, you have to remove those little elastic ties one by one. If you want something a little more permanent, these might be a decent option for you. So while budget-friendly, these may not be the most convenient or versatile option. The last option, which is going to be the simplest and sleekest, is going to be the track system. On the nice ones, the screen will sit in aluminum tracks that will be mounted to the outside frame of your outdoor structure. There's also a cable track option where the screen will move along cable guides. While more affordable, those are not nearly as sleek or sturdy as the track options. With the aluminum track system, the screens are captured on the edges in that aluminum track. And when you roll the screen up, it is housed inside of a cassette. No, not that kind of cassette. And there are a few options on how that screen can move up and down in the track system. There's the manual pull-down option, which we all saw in grade school with the projector screens. And just like those projector screens in school, the cassette can wear out really quickly, causing your screen to get stuck. And then there's the manual crank option, which comes with a pole, like this, that you can use to crank the screen up and down. With less moving parts and a simpler mechanism, these last a lot longer than the pull-down systems. Now, the manual crank is what we offer here at the Luxury Pergola, and we'll go more into why we do that in a moment. Now, the most user-friendly option is going to be the motorized screen, where you just push a button and the screen goes up and down on its own. Now, why does the Luxury Pergola, the company that makes the highest quality pergola kits in the world, not do the motorized option? Now, currently it just comes down to how not DIY friendly the motorized screens are. Having put in a ton of motorized screens myself, I can tell you it is not easy to put these in. It requires a lot of precise measurements, you have to be exactly perfect, and it requires some in-depth hardwiring to make sure that it works. That is not really what we want to offer in our simple, easy to set up DIY product. Now, this part is important. There are mainly two kinds of ways to mount your track and cassette. Now, one option is really simple. You just mount the tracks and cassette on the outside of your pergola, just like this. The other option is mounting the cassette and tracks on the inside of the pergola. Now, while the inside track system does look cleaner, it is a lot more complicated than it looks. First, your posts have to be perfectly plumb and parallel. Otherwise, what'll happen is the screen will either pinch or pull as it moves down those tracks. Also, the ground would have to be perfectly level to avoid any kind of gaps there. And having a dead level surface to mount on is basically impossible because every outdoor patio is going to have about a 1/4 inch of fall per foot going away from the house. So therefore, our screens are mounted on the outside just to keep it as simple as possible. Now, the material used for your screen or shade is going to really impact how long it's actually going to last. Most screens are made with fiberglass that's coated in vinyl. Now, the cheaper screens out there that you'll see in the big box stores and on some internet sites, those are coming out of China, and what they do is they cut cost on the vinyl part of that process. The reason they can cut costs is because they use weaker plasticizers and UV inhibitors, which won't last as long as many of the US made screens that are out there, which is what we offer. The cheaper screens are going to fall victim to sun damage, which is going to cause the vinyl to break apart, exposing the frayed fiberglass. Now, when I was talking to my dad about this, he used the term sun rot, which, while accurate, sounds kind of gross. Now, when looking at the screens that are a little higher quality and can last longer, a lot of customers are going to experience a bit of sticker shock. So when thinking about cost, just ask these questions. How long do you want it to last? How much do you want to work every time you want some shade? Do you care, what it looks like? Do you need it to retract? How many do you need? Are you installing it yourself, or do you want to hire a contractor? All of these factors are going to figure into the cost of the shade. Need help deciding? You can always give one of our experts a call, and they can guide you through what kind of shade is perfect for your outdoor space.